Last night I looked at the schedule. I go, hey, man, there's only 2 games tonight. Milwaukee, San Antonio probably blow them out. Denver, not quite peak Denver. Never know with Golden State, but is this really going to teach anything tonight? And so I was like, you know what? I might go out, play a little night golf, maybe even get a nice chicken parm at Slay. And then if I have to, something happened, I can go back and watch them, or I can just catch the fourth quarters if I feel guilty. And so about 4:30 local time, I opened the laptop. I was like, I do have some writing to do. You can make whatever jokes you want. I was like, why don't I just kind of have it on in the background, and then I'll start typing away. Well, 30 minutes of watching Giannis and Wembanyama happened. And I looked at the computer. I was like, you haven't typed one fucking word. I was like, you're not getting anything done, because this is one of those regular season games that matters. This is one of those games that you're going to want to watch, because it felt a little bit, not, epic history. There's not going to be a museum about last night's game. But it did matter. I'm going to tell you why. I couldn't stop watching. And I hope you felt the same way. It's why you buy League Pass, right? It's why you take the notes. It's why you lift all those weights. Wembanyama's on a minutes restriction, around 24 minutes. I think he got to 26 last night. Peak Popovich probably sits him, knowing it's a TNT game and everybody's looking forward to watching him. He's like, just fuck with everybody and sit him. But Pop is, I don't know if he's more likable in the sideline reporter stuff. It was funny when he yelled at everybody to be quiet. That's not who we are. Almost no one liked that. Very rarely do we get everybody to agree that we either like something or dislike something, and it felt like people dislike that. So maybe he's a little bit more playful and enjoyable and going, hey, I will give, the country wants Wembanyama, I will give it to him. But we got a game last night where I believe there'll be footage from this game playing 10 years from now. Wembanyama likely makes multiple all-star teams. Giannis will be 39. He'll be on the Lakers. Thanasis will be 41, and he'll also be on the Lakers. But let me just say, I love that TNT put the side-by-side of Giannis as a rookie next to Wembanyama right now. That's what it felt like, because Giannis wasn't as freakishly gifted size-wise, and certainly not nearly the basketball player when he started his career as Wembanyama is to start his. But Giannis ultimately kind of became the impossible. And I think that's what we're all hoping for with Victor. I mean, it's a pretty ridiculous threshold that you have to pass through to be like, yep, you provided us the impossible and you delivered with all of these expectations. Because for Giannis, clearly there weren't even anything close to the expectations when he was coming in. He was picked 15th. If you watch the footage of it, you're like, I don't really know what to make of this guy. Like, the competition's terrible. He's not really that good of a basketball player. His first season, his PER was 10. I used to think he was like a really cool Vine, but if you watch the full games, I'm like, I don't know where this is going. His first year, he played 25 minutes per game. The efficiency stuff for a lot of these young players always stinks, but he was 7 points, 4 boards, and 2 assists. And he was actually playing a decent amount. Ironically, he shot a career high 35% from 3 on 1.5 attempts per game. That did not hold up, but you thought maybe he's going to figure out this kind of 3-and-D wing guy who plays some defense and hits threes at like a 30-something% clip. You're like, or he's going to add 50 pounds of muscle, grow another 4 whatever inches, maybe more, become a much worse shooter, and you just kind of can't really do anything with him because of physically how imposing he is. His second year, he played 31 minutes a game, 13, 7, and 3. Third year was kind of the first jump and the first sign, and then the fourth year at 22 years old for Giannis, it was on. And a lot of it had to do with his size. But the most important thing, the most impossible thing to predict, is I say this all the time. We talk about quarterbacks, we talk about the NBA draft, and I'm never going to change this. I don't know that it's ever going to be solved. It is the unsolvable problem. You don't really know what's in a person. You don't really know what a person is made of. Maybe if you're the parent, you probably have a good idea, but a lot of parents aren't GMs drafting their kids. And that's what you're trying to find a way into. And with Giannis, what you can't understand when you're watching this teenager run around in this low-level basketball at a much smaller size, you're like, will this guy want it? Now, we can get to his upbringing and his background and be like, how could you not think that guy was going to be motivated? Well, does that mean everybody with that profile is motivated in their entire life? Of course not. It'd be an insane assumption to make. But one of my favorite things about Giannis, and we saw it throughout the game last night, is he wants it. He wants it as much as anybody in the NBA today. And that's a big part of his success. So when you look at the top 5 picks from Giannis's draft class, I think Giannis is now at like 17,000 points. The top 5 picks combined for 18,000. He is everything you'd want a guy to be, not necessarily in skill set. We'd like a little bit more polish here and there. There are times where I've been frustrated with just, he gets to bully everybody and all that. But at least when I know he laces them up, takes center court, that guy is ready. So that brings us back to Wembanyama. Because his personality seems to give us hints. And I'm not saying that he's going to be Giannis, who Giannis at times looks like a guy who's been dumped and then sees his ex-girlfriend show up to a place and then loses his mind. That's how he plays basketball. The buddies are like, hey, you need to chill out a little bit. And he's like, I will not chill out. I will not chill out. And I'm not saying Victor is that guy, but there are, as we saw last night, glimpses that he's up for it. He's up for all this hype. The way he looks at the crowd, the way that he competes. And I think the most important thing with big guys is it isn't just that Wembanyama has this incredible skill that we've never seen in a body package this way. It's that he really cares. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions here, not even halfway through his rookie season, but that's what I felt like last night. Like, that's why I thought last night was special, that he knew that since he was going up against Giannis, that it had to matter to him and that he wanted to get back into the game and that he wanted to keep competing. And hell, it was a close game. They gave out a line at one point where they were like, it started -11. Now it's only -5.5. And I think the game itself was only like a 3-point game. And I was like, man, Milwaukee's probably going to run away with this thing late. That's at least how I felt. And that's not what happened. It went down to the very last few possessions. GMs will tell you this. You always have to worry about big guys. You have to worry about whether or not they truly love the game. You have to worry if they kind of like the game. Forget love. Do you like it? Because when you're this big, your whole life, everybody's telling you to play basketball. You don't grow up necessarily being like, I love this sport. I want to do it. Little guys do. That's why they play like TJ McConnell at times. He's like, everybody told me to not do this, right? But with the tall dudes, the especially tall dudes, the rarities, I'll be like, hey, what happened with that guy? What? And be like, that guy doesn't even really like basketball that much. I don't have any of those issues. I don't have any of those concerns with Wembanyama at all, because I think we'd see a different version of him. And that's what I loved about last night. My favorite play is 124-121. Giannis bumps Wembanyama, which is going to be fun for anybody, especially when somebody isn't full man size yet. Bumps him, gets him underneath the rim, and then goes up to finish, because that's the thing I love about Giannis. He is going to attack you no matter what. He looks forward to it. If he were a fighter, he's the guy that's like, yeah, he doesn't just train. Like, he actually likes to do this shit. Giannis goes up and gets blocked. And there is a moment where I felt like Giannis was like, I can't believe he got me, because he moves Wembanyama's body back. He's underneath the rim, and yet with his freakishly long reach, generational stuff here, he's able to reach back up and block the shot. The way that block played out, I think he's the only person in the world that could even do that to Giannis. So I don't care about San Antonio's record. I don't care about the shooting percentages right now. As I'm evaluating it week to week and he comes up, I'll be like, yeah, there's going to be some ugly shooting nights. I don't love all the decisions. I'd love to see more point guard play with him. Imagine having like a better lob passer with Wembanyama, because they just still don't really do a lot of stuff with him. I like Vassell's scoring. I like the Sohan's just out there and not the point guard role. I don't understand. Maybe I like Keldon Johnson too much. I don't know. But the team isn't very good, but that's not the point. Because the number one concern for you, if you were a Spurs fan, if you're on the staff, is that, hey, we know what the tape looks like. We know how special he could be. We know all the hype. But I thought last night was a real moment for him, on top of other moments that were less, I guess you wouldn't say attended, but less on the radar of the national NBA public, right? It was just like, man, this thing's going to be really good. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means guaranteed rings. I don't know what it means if it's a Hall of Fame, all that kind of stuff. But his personality in that game is just an awesome sign. And that's what this season's about, knowing that Wembanyama is an absolute win of a guy to build around. And that will be the reward for this season, not whatever their record ends up being.